You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love. Hello, welcome to the Skateboarding Bros Show. We have a hot off the presses issue for you tonight with the guest of Steve Marinak, the creator and the Lord of the Florida Skateboard Hall of Fame, joining us. He's a couple down there, and we've got George in SLO, Tim, and I don't know where that is, an alley somewhere in Pinellas County, and Phil down in Sarasota. I'm in North Carolina. Leave that up there for a minute. That was first. That's not even worn down.
Because I had to pay for the motherfucker.
No tail marks, no nose. You paid for that. How many? 50?
What's on it? So show me the grip tape. Did you put grip tape on it or?
Hell no.
That's the way they came. That's the way they fucking came.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do you stay on these things?
Because you're barefoot. And
look at that slot head screws. Unbelievable.
The original screws, everything.
That's OG like F.
Yes. I mean, it's got the original DK73s. And I'm assuming DK73 is from 1973, Dekine 1973.
I don't remember that. I had DK51s, and that was the size. But I don't.
Mine were gold wheels, Cadillac gold wheels with white lettering.
DK73. This is a script lettering.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine had the.
They did that whole like the inlaid, letters inside.
Wow, that's nice.
Did the
tail isn't even, I didn't even, the thing, when I grew up skating, I don't know, maybe it was OCD, but I never was a tail, I never ground.
There wasn't much of a tail on there.
You're a poser, Steve. You weren't even riding that board. You're just a poser.
I just did not, I was like, no, in opposite, I thought, if you have to drag your tail, you're a fucking, you're lame.
There you have it.
Tail dragger.
That's a good point. If you got to drag your tail, you're a loser.
Yeah, that was my mentality. So
that's admirable. I mean, you bought that when you said how old? 13?
9 and a half, 10. Yeah.
Wow, that's OG like fuck. I like it. Does it have risers on it? Is that
no?
Rubber? Okay, so it's board on. Okay, got it.
And it came like this. Yeah.
I just got to say, the most amazing thing is that's not the original. That is the original Bane logo. That's not the modified.
No, this is the original. And when I got it, I was so freaked out about getting one of these. I wrote to the company. And they sent me a brochure, and I still have the brochure somewhere. And it has all the original logos.
It's probably in Tim's shed, but it's yours.
And this was this one. And the cool thing was before
he even got McGill covered.
Dude, all I can say is them fucking magnesium base plates.
Oh, we had. Come on, you know me. I mean, I was so good at business. I was getting us everything that was great. I mean, we had clothes from Sundeck. We had and sneakers. We had magnesium fucking trucks. We had
wheels.
About
Hunter Joslin. Look at you.
I mean, we went and did shows everywhere. We did shows for a company called Phantasma Productions.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They also promoted concerts.
Yeah. Well, we opened for usually Black Oak, Arkansas was the main one, but we even opened for Elvis Costello once.
Awesome.
And we did we did a lot of concerts. They even had a stay when we did one in St. Pete. We stayed at the Playboy Club. Okay?
I remember that. It was downtown. Yes.
And
I think that building is now imploded.
all of us were too young. Even Pat was too young. The only one old enough to go into the club was Mark Lake. And so we were all like, Mark, what's it like in there? What's it like in there? You know, and he'd go into the club because, you know, we were like, Mark was like, fuck, it seemed like he was like 10 years older than us. And,
Well, he's like 68 at this point, isn't he? I mean, not to be weird, I'm just saying, isn't he like 68?
He's always been 60.
In his 60s. And I still saved all that shit. I still have all that shit. Like the keys and everything. And I kept everything. You know? And
Wow.
so we
That's
did
a treasure
shows.
trove.
And this is when skateboarding was dead. This is like 1981, 1982. And, you know, I had us doing all kinds of shit. And we were getting, even though we were amateurs, we were getting paid to do this shit. And,
Well, they had to get rid of the shit.
you know, we were
I
all
don't mean that harsh.
we opened up for Gallagher a lot. We opened up for Carrot Top
Oh, wow.
Carrot Top.
Well,
Oh my God.
well, so Gallagher and Carrot Top were managed by the same
Yes,
company.
which was Gary Cropper. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my
Gary
gosh.
Cropper was a surf star. Okay. So Gary Proper got it, and Gary Proper did the whole Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know if you.
And he also did Copperfield.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
And
Gallagher just died, didn't he?
Yeah, just recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Fox and Pat Love and Bane boards and all that, and then we were going to move on into what happened. What happened? When did you take the skateboard out of your car?
okay, so you're back to that.
Yep.
Oh damn! Actually, I'm gonna stop there. Hold on, Ed. All I gotta say is like when you started FloridaSkater.com, when you started FloridaSkater.com, it became like I had just moved to Colorado. Okay, and you obviously are the one that created that environment, but to find that on the internet and to find connections with people that were my heroes was insane. And I'll never forget some of the first photos that I personally posted on the BBS were photos from Grigley's ramp, which was like 83, maybe 84. And I was unable to find them before all of this. But I remember you going, oh my God, that's me at the end of the extension. And you're taking a photo of the same thing that I'm taking a photo of. And that's me taking that photo. And that was one of my first, truly my first memory of ever meeting you. I'm sure that we had seen each other over the years, whatever. But the fact of the matter is like, I captured you capturing a moment that I captured.
Covering the coverage.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you really tapped into like a moment there. I mean, there were so many things about what you just said that, you know, the FloridaSkater.com thing was probably the best thing that I've done for skateboarding, or at least the biggest thing.
I don't know what else you've done, but it's that's how I met Mott. We met online. We're like, fuck, you're in Colorado, I'm in New Mexico. And we ended up meeting because of that. But
and honestly, I carried around the postcard of George on the Clearwater Skateboard Park
yellow
postcard.
The yellow postcard.
I still have my original of that. Okay. And George actually was gracious enough to provide me with another one. But I had that since then since 78, 77. And it was like, oh my God, you're the dude that's on the little thumbnail picture of that? And Steve, like, it's just a small community that makes this, for lack of a better way to put it, so goddamn rad. You know, like, skateboarding is so ingrained in all of us, and all we want to do is promote it, support it, make it move forward, and do cool shit with it. You know, like, George and I obviously became great friends. You know, you and I, Steve, over the last few months of doing the Hall of Fame, have been insane. A little, I mean, I'm going to admit it was a little bit of head banging against the wall.
No.
But as well.
Not between me and you, though.
No. But at the same time, like Ed, I met Ed at the first Florida reunion. Okay. And that was more
bad times. Yes.
Well, yeah, it was the best of bad times.
We were at the beach ramp. We were at some park on the beach.
I look at it like this. Steve, you created a launching ground or a launching pad for all of this to come back into the public view. And I think that is insanely vital to speak about, because the 90s were terrible, even though skateboarding was rad, but nobody gave a shit at all about the history of any of it. And
it was a seminal moment, Tim. I got to agree, and I got to interrupt here. I got to tell you this. When I got AOL.com and I went on my RS-232 PCM CIA card, and on your
56K modem too,
right? Dial up, and I'm on the internet, and it's all that. And I said to myself, okay, where am I going to go? And I don't know how many months it was. Do you remember what month and what year it was when you launched that?
I think it was around 1999 is when I first started playing with it. So I don't know if I got it all published until 2000 or, but I know that we had our first event at Kona. It finally formulated 2002, which makes this year the 20th anniversary of having the Hall of Fame.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that is great.
So,
I'm just
FloridaSkater.com was like the beginning of social media for me. It brought me out of the bushes and back with everybody. And Steve, that was just a wonderful moment.
It was great. It became our homepage.
That's exactly what I wanted it to do. I mean, I was in the computer business. I'm not a technician, but I have a lot of good ideas. And when this whole thing came out, remember, this was before Facebook. This is before social media. This is before
MySpace was in its infancy.
There was no social media. So I saw this thing and I thought, and I had such a passion for our era of skateboarding. And I had such I don't know if you want to call it a chip on my shoulder or whatever, that we never really were recognized. And I think that's a big part of why, I mean, I could go really deep on this, but short story.
Go.
I think that part of the reason that you see so much innovation out of the Florida people that really made a difference, Rodney Mullen, Mike McGill, Alan Gelfand, is because we didn't have the recognition, we had to try that much harder. And we had to push that much harder. And so when I when I first started learning about, websites, when the web would start coming out, I thought, I need to learn how to do this. I need to learn how to build a website. And I just kind of wanted to do it. And my passion wasn't really into my computer business. My passion was skateboarding. That was my love. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to make something that I love. And what passion do I have? Where does it need to go? It needs to give credit to all these skateboarders that never got credit. And that's the core of the Florida Skateboard Hall of Fame. And that's the core of what FloridaSkater.com was about, was I wanted to give, and you know what, that's the joy of every time we do, and Tim's learning this, it's a pain in the ass to do these events. He's laughing. It's a really pain in the ass to put this thing together. But I tell you, Tim, when we get to this event and you see this year we have 18 inductees, which is the biggest since the first year. There's going to be somebody up there and their family who cries out of emotion. And you're just going to go, you know what? This was totally worth all the bullshit.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Little sidebar. I was at the California for the Hall of Fame inductions. Sean Petty got inducted this year. And I was sitting there, just kind of hanging out with Donnie and Sam Meyer and a few other guys. And this girl comes up to me and just says, I think you're from Florida, right? Somehow she knew I was from Florida. And it turns out it was Sean Petty's sister.
Oh, geez, man.
And
That's
she
beautiful.
was there with Sean, with the whole family. And she goes,
Yeah.
would you mind coming over and signing our book? Because they gave out books. Would you mind come over signing? And if you know any other Florida people, can you get them over here too? And I was like, fuck yes. And
Beautiful.
I mean, that was a tear. I was like, oh my God, I am so fucking honored to do this. But I grabbed every person because, Mark Lake was there, Fulmer was there, all these people, Sam and Donnie. I was like, get your asses over here. This is Sean Petty's sister. Sign that thing. It was just, so yeah, there's going to be.
That's like what it's about. That's the whole deal. That's what it's about. And that's really what FloridaSkater.com was about. That's the whole deal. I mean, it was because we were
the underdogs.
Well, we felt like we were shunned. In hindsight, we were. Well, I mean, they didn't have people out here with cameras, and it wasn't easy.
And none of us had cameras.
Yeah, right.
We didn't have a magazine.
Send them to them. Okay, if somebody fucking took photos and sent them to them, we would have had photos, but nobody was doing that. And
because we were too busy skating.
Exactly. We're too busy skating.
Trying to find a place to skate.
So yeah.
Well, I don't think that we were trying to find a place to skate, because we had places to skate. We just didn't have anyone documenting it.
Yeah.
And that's where Phil comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, with the Basin and all of that, and him touring and doing what he did.
I just wish all my slides didn't get stolen out of my storage locker. I had a few thousand more pictures of everybody, but gone. But films.
But Steve, I'm just saying, all I can say is, from the bottom of my heart, I love the fact that I found FloridaSkater.com.
I knew it was crazy when I first put it out there and I started to learn how you get hits. I started to create a page and I put a whole bunch of people's names on it. Okay. Because I knew that.
And mine wasn't on it.
It was 20 years. I put a whole bunch of people's names out on the page because I thought, you know what? The internet was in its infancy. And what's one of the first things people do? They
Google themselves and they
Search
go
for
blind.
Tim Watt. That's what I did.
And
No, they Google themselves and go blind.
yes, they Google themselves. And all of a sudden, I swear to God, I was getting like I was getting 100. I was getting 100 emails a day, which is even big for now.
Yeah,
100 separate emails a day from skateboarders, and it was like, holy shit, this is untapped, and so I just kept creating content, and I was doing interviews. At first I was doing interviews with all these people, and they were really glad to contribute, and it's still out. I mean, if you search out there, you can find it out there on some kind of
well, there is the archive interwebs shit that you can find it.
It's out there and it's archived. But what was weird was I'd do an interview with Mark Lake or Mike Fulmer, and I don't know how I did it, but I found like emails and contacts for all the old pros. I mean, I did Dwayne. Dwayne would send me like, and it was horrible. And,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's still horrible.
And it was. And
at least it doesn't have an arrow pointing at me.
Some people would give me a hard time because I didn't change the grammar, because I don't know. I felt like you should.
Yes.
And people were like, you should really help out. And I was like, no, I think you should read it. It's art. This is Dwayne. This is Dwayne's comment about Mike or Mark or whoever. And you should read it how Dwayne writes it, And
I ran into Dwayne at El Gato event a couple of months ago, and he was skating. I was super stoked, and he was out there having fun. So he's back on the stick, very happy. Not doing great, but
well, he from what I saw, George, he a couple of months ago kind of went. It went,
like it or not,
everyone is gonna do what they're gonna do.
He is,
which is amazing because he didn't do that for a lot of years.
Yeah,
and
it was his way. Yeah, you're right.
And the fact that he went was a beautiful thing.
It was,
and I don't believe him for a second, but it was beautiful.
Well, it was good to see him. I've got some content. I had articles posted on floridaskater.com, at least 2, maybe 3. But we had some Florida skater visits. We had the Legends tours. We had Indian School. I posted a bunch of stuff on there where we got full-on coverage. That was a lot of fun because it was fun writing those stories and sending them to you and saying, okay, here's the story, here's the images. And I remember you sending me back, hey, yeah, George, we got to clip these photos, do this and that, because it wasn't easy back then. Now it's just like, boom, put in a PDF or whatever. And
yeah.
Do you remember the Quiver article you did, George?
Yes, I do remember it. I do.
Remember the following Quiver
and you standing there with your fucking ironing board?
Yes, that's correct.
I remember that.
Surfing the new river on my ironing board. Yes,
that was wonderful, Steve. Yes.
So Steve, I just want to ask. So obviously you started the FloridaSkater.com website, and that got all of this more or less moving into a positive direction. What made you shut it down?
Slacker, you fucking slacker.
I know. You know what? I think
I'm just kidding.
I think what happened was the most the most active part of it became the bulletin board. And then all of a sudden the bulletin board became, you had to manage it constantly because there was constant bullshit, either spam bots or people coming in.
Really?
Oh, I was guilty. I'm not going to deny that I wasn't.
All kinds of bullshit coming in, and you had to like manage it, and it was.
We do a shout out for Lloyd.
Yeah, Lloyd helped me.
Lloyd Gillick helped with the management of the
He really did.
right wing skater and other snipers.
There was a lot of stuff on there, and then so really the bulletin board became the really active part of it. And then at some point, Facebook and everything else came out, and it was like, you know what? I don't need to do this, and and I don't know. Maybe it was just part of whatever was going on in my professional and family life. It was like, okay, I just the social media is eclipsing whatever I can possibly do.
Right.
And, so I stopped doing that, and I would love to have. I mean, part of me thinks, I'd love to go back to the non-bulletin board part and do interviews again and things like that. And that would be really, really nice. But part of me says, you know what? Nobody goes to websites anymore.
No, Facebook supplanted all of that.
It really did. It really did. So, let me reverse.
Yeah.
Let me reverse and go over the other things so that if you do publish this, people know the other things I did. I mean, I think my contribution to skateboarding in Florida was really more of the I hate to say business side of it, but I did. I ran the demonstration team. We called it the Interspace skateboard team.
Interspace, that's right. Yes.
Well, there was an industry aspect, Steve, and what you contributed from the industry aspect of continuing to promote skateboarding, not yourself, but
it was never about myself.
No, right.
And well, the cool thing about Interspace was we had this ramp in Palm Beach. I don't know if you remember the old pictures in Skateboarder magazine. They'd say it was the Palm Beach ramp. And you see Fulmer like doing like a front side, like a
layback tail flop.
The layback.
Yeah. Okay. So we had this
ramp with the green Marinak sticker on it. Yes, I remember.
So that original ramp was 8 feet wide, and it had like 8-foot transitions or something, and it was Hunter's ramp, and he modeled it and it was probably no flat, and it was modeled after that original one, like in California, Rampage, and so. About a year or so later, we took that ramp and we separated it. We put flat on it. We took this 8 feet, we put it on this side. And for some stupid reason, we made this side 10 feet with a foot of vert. We made this side 8 feet with 3 foot of vert. So they're both 11 feet. And it was the weirdest fucking thing because you had one side with 10-foot transitions and one side with 8-foot transitions. But, and it was in this guy's backyard, Steve's shop, who was this crazy, like, you remember that movie, Dong, 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 Dong,
Close Encounters?
Yes. This guy looked just like that guy. Had the little glasses and everything. He was crazy. And one day we come back and he paints across the top of the ramp Interspace. And he's this old hippie dude. And he looked just like the guy from Close Encounters. And we're like, what the fuck is that about?
Hippies are the greatest.
It was in his backyard. And we were like, whatever, you can paint whatever you want on it. And and it says Interspace, and everybody else just dogged him and was like, they didn't listen to him. I'm like, you got to tell me what this is about. And he's like, well, my whole life I always wanted to go to work for Ringling Brothers and work in the circus, and I think you guys are up there on the vertical, you know, in flight. That's what I'm calling interspace. And you're in non-gravity mode. And the weirdest fucking thing, the way he explained it, I read like 30 years later, I read an explanation from Bob Burnquist, and Bob Burnquist almost said the same things. And I was like, holy shit, Steve was on to something. And but anyway, at the time, I was just like, this is so fucked up that I have to call our demonstration team Interspace. And so we just kept it. And that was our little club, kind of like Brian Logan's, you know, skateboard clubs. And when I'd go out and sell us to people, whether it was Vans or Tracker or whoever, I'd say, hey, listen, we're a group. You know, you need to give us all the same shit. And we're the Interspace skateboard team. And we go and we went around and did shows all over the place. And for, you know, concerts and comedians, and that's what we did. And that was a really good thing. You know, we did a lot of it everywhere. We did it with the original Surf Expo before it became Surf Expo in Orlando. It was really Surf Expo out of Melbourne, West Palm Beach, and all that.
Well, it was the Surf Expo, not the ASR show.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember those. Yeah.
So we did all those, and when we went to St. Pete, we did a show over there, and of course that's when I met Schmitt and Grigley in like 80, 81, before I went to college at USF. And then when I went to college at USF, I knew those guys, and thankfully they welcomed me into their little fold for the 5 years I went to college in Tampa, and I was able to skate with them. And I don't know if I was the first to have a zine in Florida, but I was one of the first. I was before Schmitt's. I was before.
You were before fun. For fun.
Yeah, before Just for Fun.
For fun.
And of course, I called it Interspace. And
of course you did. Yeah.
Of course
I think I still have a copy of that. Actually,
you know, it's weird. I had, when Trans World put a list in their magazine of people who had zines, I started getting quarters from all over the world.
Yep.
Insane. It was insane. I was getting quarters from Germany and Denmark and this and that to send them a copy. And that's when I realized, man, skateboarding is big. And so I did that. And then, you know, I went through college, I got a job. And when Wommel's original question was, when did you take it out of the trunk, was probably my saddest. It was the saddest day of, yes. Why do you ask that? It's like you want to cry. The shittiest things I ever did was when I got out of school, I got a job, I sold my VW van, and I even have a song I wrote about it.
Was it a VW or was it a Westie?
It was the full-on camper van.
Okay.
Yeah, and I slept. I don't know if you all were at the freezing cold contest at Grigley's ramp.
That's what my photos are from, Steve.
I slept in Grigley's backyard in my van, and I didn't even have fucking sheets. I put all my pads on. It was so goddamn cold. I thought I was gonna die. And So it was so sad when I got my first job.
That was 83 or 84.
It was sad as hell. And after that I graduated, I don't know, 86, 87. And that's when I thought it's time to grow up.
But did you?
That idea, it's a trap, bro. It's a trap.
It is.
Don't do it.
It's a trap. And I had every skateboarder magazine and every Thrasher and every Action Now. And I don't know, I sent I don't know, back then there was no internet. I sent a letter to Trans World or something, and Buddy Carr snatched them like that. And because I said, you know what, I'm getting out and I'll trade it for whatever. And he sent me a full complete, and I sent him like 50 issues of everything. Oh. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And I still talk to Buddy, and I'm like, would you ever consider sending them back? And he's like, no.
Buddy's a great guy. I like Buddy a lot.
Oh, dude, for riding trackers, that dude was fucking rad.
Yes, exactly. Smooth. But I remember that exact point that you're talking about, Steve, where I was like, I can't do this at a high level anymore. I remember the exact point. And I was actually in bed with this girl. Get up. I think Edgar knows her. This was when I was living in Gainesville, but I was in bed with this girl. And both of my wrists were totaled. Both of my elbows were totaled. And both of my knees were totaled. I couldn't get on top of her and get busy without being in pain. And I was like, this is not fucking worth it.
TMI.
And I was just like, screw this. I was riding for Kryptonics and Gullwing at the time. Kryptonics was giving me shit. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? And it's just like.
So did you call Bachram to take care of it?
Diaz. Actually, I knocked on the door and pulled Ray Diaz in. And he came and finished up. No,
it's a lefty.
He was a very generous girl. So she took care of things. But at that point, I remember specifically going, fuck skateboarding. This isn't worth it. I still skated after that, but I just stopped skating competitively and just said, you know what? I'm just going to concentrate on other stuff. And I did.
Yeah. So I mean, there was a ramp in the Clearwater, St. Pete, somewhere. And I went up to do like a front side invert, and I ran over this finger and I about cut it off because it hit the coping and the wheel at the same time, and it just cut it. It just popped it. And I remember thinking, and I play guitar, and I remember thinking, no, man, this is crazy. And right around then was the picture of McGill doing the McTwist. And up to that point, I thought, up to the McTwist, and I think a lot of the pros at the time even were just like, fuck. When the McTwist came out, that separated the men from the boys. It really did.
Yep.
That was a changing point. That was a turning point. And I remember the McTwist came out, and I thought, I'm not gonna be doing that. And I got to get a job, and I just cut my finger off, and. Okay.
I was sitting there in the worm run with Rodney at Sensation Basin. And I'll always remember that. I was sitting in the worm run with him, and I was trying to learn blunts. The worm run is a fucking 3-foot wall, maybe, Edgar, Phil?
33 degrees, maybe.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was trying to learn blunts, and I'd go up and I'd lock in. And I was like, I can't fucking jump backwards on a 3-foot wall. And there's all these people doing it. It's like, yeah, fuck it. I'm done. Can't do it.
Well, part of that, George, was that the 3-foot walls at that point in time also had 8-foot transitions. So to yank it back in from a 3-foot wall into an 8-foot transition was not an easy thing to do. And truthfully, like to move it forward a little bit, there was a point in time, like after what Steve is talking about, that vert literally died, and all the vert ramps got cut down into mini ramps. and the tighter mini ramps were actually functional.
Yep.
But then they're turned into mini ramps that were built to be mini ramps, and they had like 4-foot tall and 10-foot transitions.
Yep.
And those things were horrible to try to ride. Like, granted, a lot of things changed and the progression changed, but as a vert skater like y'all, it was just really strange to go to being like, oh my God, this is a bank. Literally a bank.
It's not a bank. Yeah. It was a rounded bank. It wasn't a bank. It was rounded. Yeah. I agree.
But the transition size was a bank.
Yeah.
So to come back in on that was, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
This shit doesn't make sense.
Okay. Hold on. Episode's about Steve Marinak. Here, we're going to talk about.
Sorry, Steve.
So it's all right, man.
But
He got
Steve,
passion.
you were there.
Yes, that's right. So he's talking about the worm,
No.
and that's either the surf run or the.
I disagree.
The board comes out. The board comes out of the trunk. The golf clubs go in.
Is that what it was?
No.
I know how my board came
God,
out.
I hope
You
not.
broke it.
I know it did with Edgar.
Yeah, he broke my board, and I just didn't replace it. Now, Steve, so you've got Florida Skater.
Okay,
You're-
so I got skater.com,
right.
and right around that time here in West Palm, we had the YMCA open up, and out of the fucking blue, they put a pool in, which was insane.
Fun pool.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we put a pool in, and so along those same lines of everything that I was trying to repurpose and rejuvenate and give life to again. I thought, you know what? I got a lot of momentum here with this website, and I thought I'm going to do the Florida version of the Hester series. And so I did the old school skateboard series. And so
What year was this? What year was this?
I skated that. I've got the shirts from it. I skated.
I don't remember the year, but it was probably early 2000s.
2002, maybe.
Because that I just asking, because like in 1998 when that place got built, 99 when that place got built, I was there every goddamn weekend.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was there every weekend for 2 years solid, and I was just like, yes, there's there's round wall. Oh my God, yes, skateboarding survives.
It was good. The capsule kind of sucked, but
well, they both suck. But they both suck. But it was round and it was concrete and it was amazing that they both that it existed, because nothing new had been built for decades. And having West Palm there and accessible, oh man. Okay, so that happened, and then immediately after that happened, it lit a fire under my ass, and I was like, I need to go, and I need to go skate, because this is what makes me me. And then I got to Colorado, and it was amazing, and obviously there was new things being built everywhere. But Steve, when I got to Colorado, that's when I discovered Florida Skater, because I was like, man, this was important. This is important. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass by any stretch, but the simple fact of the matter was we had that little glimmer of hope of what was.
I mean, that was the whole thing. I mean, when I first published the first page, I wanted it to be. I kind of wanted it to really kind of be like, fuck you, in your face to the whole. I hate to say it, the whole California thing.
Yeah, okay. I feel you, dog.
It's okay.
You know, I mean,
Let it out.
We really
Good.
don't do that. I mean, they didn't do that on purpose. Okay, but that's how we felt. Okay, so the first page I ever put up, and I don't know how many people ever saw it, was I really wanted to be underground and not even put somebody on the first front page of the website initially that was known. Like, I didn't want to put Petty or Lake or McGill. I put this fucking rad picture that I took of Mark Bunsey, because to me, Bunsey epitomized the unknown skater. Okay, he was like the unknown ripper that never got
That's true.
anything, any kind of credit. I mean,
And he voted this year for the first time ever.
Bunsey would. I mean, Bunsey didn't care if he had a sponsor. He was up there in bumfuck Jensen Beach, and
which is not bumfuck anymore.
he was just always ripping. And so the first page I had, it was a picture of him, and I still have the photo. And to me, that was what I wanted to epitomize was, hey, we're a bunch of unknown fuckers, but everybody ripped. It was like, I mean, anybody on this call, like GBM, anybody, I mean, it's like,
yeah,
nobody fucking knew who any of these people were, but we were somebody. And that was what the whole thing was about.
But we're still nobody. And you know what? It matters to us.
It matters to us. And and so finally I'm getting to the point. That's where when I had initially planned like a party at Kona and with FloridaSkater.com. And I don't know if we had an old school skate jam there or what, but it was like, we're going to have this event. And because of how the search engines worked and everything, I made up a VIP list. Okay, this is how funny this is. Tim will appreciate this because he's a web guy. I went and picked out every fucking name you could think of in the state of Florida, and I put it on the VIP list on the website, thinking that, one, you're going to Google yourself and you're going to find it and you're going to maybe show up to the event and think, well, hey, I'm on the VIP list. I'm going to get in free. And that's precisely what happened.
Yeah.
And we had, I think Marty told me we had 600 people show up to that event or more. It was blowout huge. And at the last minute, I remember before I drove up to it, I was just like, holy shit, we may never, ever, ever get these people together again. And we're getting them together. And these are all the heroes, all my heroes. And
dude, it was bigger than my high school reunion could have ever been.
And it was better.
Yes.
Yes, it was your high school reunion. It was my high school reunion.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Yes. And so I thought, I am so invested in this, and this may never, ever, ever happen again. That's when I said, you know what? We've got to give a award. We've got to do something. And it was an off-the-cuff idea. It was a last-minute idea. We didn't mean to do the Hall of Fame. It was when we finally realized that all these motherfucking heroes are going to be there. Holy shit, they're showing up. They're actually showing up.
Yeah.
And then we're like, holy shit, if they're going to show up, we're just going to have to wing it. And give them something. I don't even know if that night we gave them a trophy or anything, but I remember, and some of you will remember, because I went and tapped on people's shoulders and I was like, hey, I need you to induct Bruce, like Bauckham. I went, Bauckham, I need you to come up and say something for Bruce Walker. I need, and I would go up to so-and-so. I need you to come up and say something for so-and-so. And the cool thing was, is nobody even knew it was happening.
And
nobody knew we were doing the Hall of Fame that night.
So I can only speak from my experience of being there and being a part of it, Steve. And thank you for having me as a part of it. But I showed up. Literally, I would have been like the freshman nerd, and I was the freshman nerd at the event, and looking up to all of y'all, okay, and being able to stand in my hero's presence.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Obviously, I met George. I met Ed. I met, aside from people that I had already known and I still know, but it was just amazing to be like in the presence of those people.
It was a fucking magical night. I mean, I remember being there. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of people who were just emotionally overcome. And it was an off the cuff. And I normally I don't give a shit what the California guys say. But I remember
there you go.
I remember being there and Steve Olsen comes up to me at the end of the inductions and he goes, you know what, man? He goes, this is by far the best skateboard event I have ever been to.
He doesn't say stuff
why?
like that.
And you know why? Because it wasn't about egos. It wasn't about pretense. It was only about fucking love of skateboarding.
Yeah.
It was a seminal moment. We didn't know. We didn't know we were all going to be thrown together. There was no, oh man, he's going to be there. Fuck him. I got a grudge against that. That it was all of a sudden we were there, and
I showed up like a freshman. I showed up like a freshman or an 8th grader, going, "Oh my god, all my heroes are going to be there."
Yeah.
I'm there.
We showed up. It was so much fun. This is the interesting piece. It was so much fun that later on that year, I sold a Sims taper kick for a whole bunch of money. And I sent tickets to Edgar, to Chris Bauckham, Kelly Lynn, and a few other people. It's like, hey, come on out to Albuquerque. Here's a free ticket. Just because it was so much fucking fun skating with these people. There was like, I don't want to stop this. We got to do it. And we had, 12 of us, Edgar? 14? Well,
it was great.
Showing up out in Albuquerque, that exact same
boy.
Yeah.
Well, George, I would like to expand upon that because I did miss the first one that you did.
But
after
Steve,
that, but Steve, understand, you laid the groundwork for what George did, and that in and of itself, and the fact that I was in Colorado and I could jump down a state to come to Albuquerque to come hang out with my heroes was unbelievable.
I still kick myself for not going to that album.
And the crazy part is that it grew. We did this for like 8 years in a row, and it grew into contests. We had people coming in from all over the place. It didn't become just an Albuquerque thing.
Outlaw Ditch
Skate Legends Desert Tour. Let's all go hang out. We had Bennett Harada come out,
And y'all came to Colorado, and
we all came to
showed you around there.
I mean, it was just so much, but it's just that little spark. You had the spark, and it just fucking.
But if it hadn't been for your input, Steve, and your organizing that first event, none of this explosion of Florida probably would have happened. And that's just my opinion.
No, I hear you, and I'm humbled and grateful to have had the opportunity to do that, you know, and the luck to do that, and I'm very grateful to be able to, you know, have the love from everybody in this community, because I can't tell you. I mean, I've had a tough couple of years, and my mom just passed, and the first person at my mom's funeral this year, the first person that showed up was Chris Wentz. And
fuck yes.
You know.
Righteous.
I mean, you know, my skateboarder friends are my family, and they look out for me. And, you know.
Well, Steve, just want to say that the little bit that we know each other, I always will have your back, and I always have your back. And I didn't know you back in the day, but I know you now. And that is what skateboarding is about.
Yeah.
For me. You know, like the fact that I took photographs of you taking photographs, and then here we are 20 years later.
20?
After 20 years later.
More than 20.
You know, like
30 years later, yeah.
But the fact that
there's nothing like it. I mean, I just went to New York for, you know, what, I had a family member pass away, and I went up to New York, and you know, I texted John Grigley, and I'm like, hey, what do I do up there? You know, and he's like, come look me up, man, and let's do something.
Fuck yes,
exactly.
And it's like there is not. I mean, you don't find that in business. You know,
you don't find that in golf.
No. You know, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that too. It's like I have three major passions. It's surfing, skateboarding, and music. And skateboarding has a brotherhood, and the others really don't. I mean,
bitches.
If you're out surfing, okay, think about it this way: if you're out surfing, you're trying to get the wave before the other guy. Okay, fuck him. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You know, and you're going to take as many waves as you can, and you don't give a shit if he rides any all day long. Okay. And skateboarding is not like that. Skateboarding is like, okay, I'm going to drop in. The next guy's going to drop in, and you're going to watch him, and you're going to get stoked on whatever he does. And music isn't even like that. Like my music business that I did for years, I mean, you're kind of close to the people that are in your band, but you're not close with the other people that are in bands that are competing for the same jobs as you. Skateboarding is a really different culture where even in competition, you are rooting for that guy. I mean, you see it today, the people slapping their tails. Skateboarding is different in that way, and you're rooting for the other guy, no matter what. And it's really a wonderful activity. I hate to call it a sport.
Well, because it's not a sport. And Steve, on that note, I might add, like during the Olympics last year, and skateboarding was finally incorporated into it, which love it or hate it, whatever. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that one of the announcers of the Olympics went, oh my God, this is amazing that the competitors are cheering for each other.
Yeah. That's
and
no
to hear
sport.
and to hear an announcer just state that, like, we need, and literally he said, we need more of this in sport.
Yeah.
Because that makes it fun. That makes it cool. That makes it enjoyable for every competitor, instead of being like,
It's
like,
well, luckily it's the nature of our activity. It's like, it really is. I mean, you're stoked when you see somebody else doing something killer, and it gets you pumped up to try and do better. Whereas like tennis, you're trying to find that person's weak spot and kill them.
That's a good
Okay.
Granted, there may be a part of that during competition.
No, there's not. There's not in skateboarding. You're not trying to. There's no opportunity to find a weak spot. It's not like you can make someone else fall.
No. But what I mean by that is that you might, at the end of your run, pull something out that nobody else has.
Yes, but
everyone's gonna still, at the end of it all, is gonna be like, "Bah!"
Yeah. See, I think that's different though. Like in tennis, like if you know that person can't run to the other side of the court,
right?
and send the ball over there, you are humiliating them.
Yes.
That's not. We don't have that. We don't have that.
Yeah. We don't.
And
that.
in
That's a
contests,
really good
people
point.
charge. They do stuff and pull stuff off that they normally won't go for or commit to. And you see that, and when George and I skated all the time together, he would know when I was going to fall, like 10 seconds before I fell, because I never pulled that off.
Right after that.
Right. And it's like trying to get a ride at Del Mar. There's 20 guys in a one big drop-in spot. You can't get a ride. So when somebody is in a contest that is not as good as they are skating, it is an incredible relation you have with them. You know that they're skating larger than life, and you're happy for them because they really.
I will say this: having gone to Del Mar sessions and riding custom ass fucking Schmitt boards with Monty graphics, and it was during the era of the Monty boards, and that was about it. And just show up,
room, dude. I'm sorry, Tim.
But to show up at a session with Eric Nash, to show up at a session with Blender, to show up to a session with Billy Ruff, and to show up to a session with Lucero, and I'd slap my tail over to drop in to Del Mar, and they'd be like, "What do you got?" And to do my shitty little fucking runs, and they'd be like, "High fives."
That's right.
That is what makes skateboarding the most beautiful thing in the fucking world to me. That no matter how good you are, how bad you are, everyone recognizes you're ripping for you.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I fucking shredded Del Mar, by the way.
Del Mar. It was quirky.
It was certainly quirky, but just saying it at the time, for being a nobody from fucking Florida and showing up to a session, and that people at least like gave a little homage to,
that's right.
Who's this fucker?
That's right. Fuck yeah.
Riding a Schmitt board. That was huge. and honestly, like, just saying, like, Eric Nash and Lucero became friends.
That's awesome.
But it was because that session that I was there for. And that's something that not everyone gets at this point in time. Like to be able to travel and just show up to a session and to be welcomed.
Yes, to be welcomed, and you always were.
Crazy.
Tim brought it up. This is when I was in college, we made this in Schmitt's house. This is a foam core.
Yeah.
This is when he wanted me to go to Fox before they went to Powell and get them to do the boards with him.
And there's rocker on it. There's foam core.
It really is a better board.
Fuck yeah, it was.
Lighter. And it's a gorgeous board. And I remember at the time, he's like, "What shape do you want?" And I was like, kind of like a Phillips, Phillips and a McGill mixed together. And
it looks like that. It looks like a Phillips.
Yeah.
And it's shorter nose than a Phillips, more like a McGill.
Yeah. So that was something he made for me. And what else do I have? This is Baucom's personal rider he gave me.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is kind of nice. And I have one of Kelly's somewhere, but I'm not sure where it is.
Oh, it's too heavy. Is it a Walker or a Markel?
So there we go. Okay, so that's a Fulmer Death Box.
Yeah, this is his personal rider.
So for my 50th birthday, Fulmer actually gave me a prototype of that board, and I was blown away because literally probably 2 months before that, I took one of his boards, one of the Fulmer Death Box boards, and cut it into a freestyle board because it was flat as fuck. So I was like, what better board to make out of a fucking Fulmer?
It is pretty flat.
It's so flat, dude.
Very flat. I never noticed that.
but I have been, well, you can't see them, but I have in my, now that on the other hand.
This is my Fulmer from when I rode Sims. I should say I rode for Mike because really, So
you're on flow.
Yeah.
You're on flow for Mike.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to ride for them for anybody else. And let me see what else I got. This is my This is when I rode for Sundancer. Now these.
Oh yeah.
This was before Schmitt's sticks.
Right.
And I actually
that was like flight era.
Yes, and because I was, I always grew up on the water. We had big PVC pipes at the dock. So I took big PVC pipes. I cut it. I threw it in the oven when my mom was out of the house.
And bent it.
Yep. those are, and these motherfuckers slide like you wouldn't fucking believe.
Dude, we made, on the same note, Steve, we made Publix copers out of the handles out of the handles on the shopping carts. We made copers out of them.
And then look at the work I did here with a fucking router.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
man.
Brad Bowman.
This is an untold story. Fish sticks. Steve Fisher says, that he was right there with Schmitt, and you're doing your own thing down there, custom for the logo. That's awesome.
I even cut it around the fucking logo. This was when Cherry Hill was around. I went to Cherry Hill around that time, and
tail dragger,
flat deck with pizza grip.
Pizza grip. so
regular grip tape in the back. That was typical.
So on the same note, we aside from the Publix copers, we also made Bob's Barricade ramps.
Out of what?
Out of Bob's Barricades.
You don't remember Bob's Barricades, Steve? There was a fixture on
Bob's
every
Basin for 2 years. I never sent it back.
So do you remember Bob's Barricades?
course.
So we would steal their side of the road little like hazard shit, and we would cut them into sheets and make rails out of them.
Cool.
Because
Orange and white rails.
you could not find Schmitt rails in 1981 in Fort Myers, so we just made them.
And that's one of the things you do. If you can't find it something to ride, you build it. If you can't find something to skate on it, then you build that too. So it's like it's not there, so you just create it. And that's part of what Steve was alluding to earlier, which is we had to work harder at this. I mean, he left out a name there, Steve. Kelly Slater from Cocoa Beach. I think 11 times now is the world champion surfer.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at it. Look what we had. We had Rodney. We had Kelly Slater, Mike McGill. I mean,
Gelfand.
We had people who really had to work so much harder.
Mark Lake.
Rodney, and all these people.
Unfortunately, people had already written off Mark Lake.
Well, Mark was so. Even I remember when I first saw the pictures of Mark Lake doing the lake flip in like the 70s in the magazine, I thought, those aren't makes. That's bullshit.
But they were.
They were. and that's in hindsight, it's like I saw who was it? Glenn Friedman recently. He goes, Mark Lake's not a skateboarder. He's a fucking acrobat. And
he was.
He's insane. He's an alien.
And he's okay, I am broken and I am fucked. But my take on it is when Lake or Alva quit skateboarding, that's when I know that I'm done.
All right, Ed, get us out of here and invite us to the next time.
Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us here tonight on the Florida, no, I don't know what it is, the Skateboarding Bros Show. Thank you for joining us on the Skateboarding Bros Show. Tonight we had the luxury of having Steve Marinak sit in with us and Tim Mott from Florida Skateboard Hall of Fame, and Phil and George already bailed. You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love.